In this lesson, we're going to go over the script that enables the Game Over screen. Alright, so whenever the game is over, that is usually the point when some condition has happened, and this is called the game state. The game state is going to handle whether the player has won or lost. And so we have this already blocked in, and I want to show you how we have this logic set up, what it's going to entail. So if I go to the mothership object, and we go ahead and double click on the mothership script, that will bring it up inside of MonoDevelop. Let's give it just a moment to do so. And inside of MonoDevelop, you're going to notice a couple of things. The first thing is I have this animator, okay, that I'm getting here. This animator is going to get the actual animator component from the HUD canvas itself. Now, the reason that I'm letting the mothership handle that is because the mothership is actually handling the game state itself. It just makes sense. If you want to separate the game state from the mothership, you can do so, but it's here and it doesn't really hurt anything. So we have the animator, and if we go down to awake, you can see that anim, and we're looking for the HUD canvas object, and we're getting the animator component that is on the HUD canvas object. Now, the animator means that we have some animation states on that object. So let's take a look at those really quickly. If we bring up our animator window and we select our HUD canvas object, you'll see that I have some game states here. So if I middle mouse click, I can drag that around. So from the entry, it's automatically going into this empty game state. To create an empty game state, you'll right click and create state empty. Now whenever you create that, it's going to give it a name called new state. You'll want to go ahead and change that to empty, and then you'll actually want to right click on it and say set as layer default state. So that way when the game starts, it's just going to go to this and it's waiting for a condition to be met in order to play our game over animation state. Now the game over animation was created whenever we created that clip. So inside of your project browser, if you go to the animations folder, this is where I saved the game over animation. You can left click and drag that right here inside of your animator window, and that will create that state. Now once that state is created, you'll want to create a transition from empty to game over. Select that transition, and you'll want to remember to turn off this has exit time, so that way it waits for this parameter to be met. Now on this, we want to also create a parameter. I've created a parameter already for this, and it's called isGameOver. Now this is going to be a trigger parameter. So right click, or actually let's add a parameter, excuse me, and then go to trigger. Give it the name isGameOver, and then on our transition, we'll simply make sure that the condition is set to isGameOver. Now you might be asking, what's the difference between a trigger and a Boolean? A trigger is going to set itself, or it's waiting to be set to true, or it's waiting to be set to false, whatever the opposite is by default, and then it's going to set itself back to its original state immediately after it has been triggered. And so that's what we want to do with a game over state here. So now that that has been understood and you can see how that has been built, let's go back to our scene and game, and let's go back to that script. So we're wanting to get that animator component of the HUD canvas, so that way we can play the game over screen. So here you'll see that we have an update function, and we're checking to see if the total energy is less than the needed energy of the mothership. And so again, we're checking to see if there's just not enough on the map for the player to win. And we're also checking to see if it's possible that the player has collected enough energy and given that to the mothership, and it's equal to the needed energy, which is the goal. So either one of these will trigger this bit of code right here. So we have our print, which we can go ahead and actually comment out, so double / to comment that out. We no longer need that to print. But we want to set that trigger, and so we're looking for that parameter is game over. Now once that has been set, we're going to start a timer, and we're going to basically allow this timer to give the game over menu some time to actually visibly show itself before we go in and actually load the level again or restart the level. So you can see that we have these new variables up here at the top. The restart delay is set to about 3 seconds, and then I have my private restart timer, and that's just holding the value of that restart timer. Okay, so if restart timer is greater than or equal to restart delay, meaning that if it's greater than 3 seconds, so if 3 seconds have passed, go ahead and load the level again. Now on our on-trigger delay here, I went ahead and I moved a little bit of script here. So before we had this if collected energy is equal to need energy, we're going to say you win. But I went ahead and I changed that to where it's going to be up here in the update function. So it's always checking to see if the player has won or if the player has lost. The update function is going to be very important because it runs every single frame. And any time that you have a timer that needs to run all the time, you want that in your update function. Alright, so now let's go ahead and hit Control S to save that because I did comment some things out of that. But that is our game logic. Alright, so now that we have that set, let's go ahead and take a look and see if this actually plays. So we're going to hit play on this. And we're going to come in and we're going to run around. We're going to collect one of our energy pieces. And we'll see if we can collect what we need. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Seeing how we've made this scalable, let's go make this go a little bit faster. Let's get rid of any energy that is not necessary. So I'm going to get rid of all of the energy but 3. Remember this original one here. So I'm going to delete those out, and then I'm going to hit play. And you'll see that I only need 2 energy to win. Okay, so that's updating. So we've made this game scalable. I'm just going to come up, I'm going to grab these very easy energy pieces. And then we're going to come up through here. We're going to avoid the enemy, or we can just get touched by the enemy because it will also send us into the game over state. You can see that that is now animating. And then now it restarts our animation, or restarts our game. Now there is one issue with this. You'll notice that the level has gotten much darker. This has to deal with the lighting. So what I want to do is I want to hit play, and you'll see that everything has turned black, and that's a problem. Let's go ahead and go up to Window and Lighting. This is going to bring up our lighting section. I'm going to leave everything the same. I have my custom skybox. I also have my sun set as the directional light. And what's happening is we're using this continuous baking. And I've noticed that whenever it restarts, then the new level won't bake for some reason. Now that's not really a big issue. What I'm going to do is actually turn off the continuous baking, and then I'm going to build that lighting. And what that's going to do is it's going to build a light map for us and our reflection probes that are in the scene, and you'll see that everything comes back to normal. Seeing how this is a simple scene, that lighting or that baking goes very quickly. So now let's try this again, and let's see if this has fixed our problem. So let's go in, let's collect 2 energy, and then we're just going to run right into that enemy, and then we'll see the game over screen. Now even if we collect 2 energy and we go to the mothership and we collect that and we actually win the game, it still says game over. You may think about creating a screen that says you win in that case. And it's the same process. So now you can see that it's restarting. Our lighting is all set up properly and it's working great. Now there's one more element that I want to show you before we end this entire course, and I want to talk to you a little bit about audio. Audio is a very important part of each game, and I'm going to show you how to create a background music object, and we'll get into that next.